All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. It's 9:05. Now we have a tight time schedule that we're trying to stick to, so I'm going to try to make sure we can get everything going smoothly. Just a quick few housekeeping rules to start out. Please make sure that your mics are on mute. At the end, we will have a live Q&A session where if you have any questions, you can hit the raise your hand and we'll be able to ask the questions. The questions that we currently have came from the survey that Dr. Cope had put out. And so we have some questions here that we'll be asking for the panel. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and start introducing our panel. First, we have Ms. Dawn Roundtree. Ms. Dawn Roundtree is from Nansemond River High School. She is the technology and education teacher. She's been doing it for 16 years. She's currently the teacher for Project Lead the Way, which is the engineering program we have at Nansemond River. During her tenure, she has served as club sponsor, yearbook advisor, and girls tennis coach. She has served on many committees and focus groups at the school, district, state, and national level. These groups focus on topics like community and school engagement, curriculum development, and program implementation. She is currently the vice president of the Virginia Technology Engineering Education Association and has been recognized on several times for her excellence in the field of technology and engineering education. Ms. Dawn Roundtree. The second one we have is Ms. Amanda Hadgraff. She is from Kingsbrook High School. She has been teaching history for 9 years. She has taught world history, government, and psychology. She has taught inclusion classes, honors classes, and IB classes. And she's also worked with the Honor Society and has been the department chair. Last but not least, we have Ms. Sarah Porter. Ms. Sarah Porter is from Kingsbrook High School. She is a special education teacher with 17 years of experience. She has taught in the algebra, geometry, AFDA, and Algebra 2 math inclusion classes. She served in the capacity of SPED coach for the special education department for several years. She's also served as a coach for different sports at the school. She's had the opportunity to host student teacher and is currently working on her master's in educational leadership, Ms. Sarah Porter. So that is our panel for today's discussion. And what I'd like to do now is go ahead and get started with our first question. Our first subject we're going to talk about is classroom management. For our first question to go out to the panel, how do you recommend increasing participation in the virtual environment?
I'll go ahead and start. One of the things that I've done to continue engagement in my class to make sure that they show up is it all started because I had an issue with something with my face and I wanted to hide it. So I grabbed one of my son's play masks, and so it started out, I dressed up as Marshmallow, and I started class with a mask and music, and I kind of danced around and I looked like an idiot. And every day it's a different thing. So they sign in and they're wondering, what the crap is this woman going to do next? And so I do my best to try to kind of do something that they don't know what's going to happen, so that it keeps them guessing and wondering, what are we going to talk about today? And then as we go through conversations and stuff, I have them putting things in the chat or working in like a Google slide or something where they can all kind of incorporate that work together.
Dr. Hadgraff or Ms. Porter?
Yeah, I discovered this year Jamboards for the first time ever, and that's something we probably do a Jamboard every class, and if not every class, every other class. And there, I kind of tell them, hey, if everybody does the Jamboard, you know, that this is going to be a participation grade for the day. And I found that works, it has been working, because now they know they have to put something up there. And then we'll do it as a class, so everybody has a chance to kind of see what everybody else is thinking. And that seemed to help with getting them a little bit more engaged. And I'm finding at the end of class, I have less, people that aren't still sitting there. And I know this because, the end of class, you dismiss, and there's always 2 kids that just like magically don't dismiss because they're not sitting at their computer. And I found since doing that, and so the kids know now that, oh, there's going to be some interactive part of this class today, that they're staying and they're paying more attention.
And for me, I try to use the in Canvas, I try to use the personal chat to kind of build the confidence of students to keep them engaged. So I have whatever students I recognize and I have relationships with, I try to encourage them, hey, come on, you know that answer, you should answer it in the chat, or unmute your mic and answer the question. So I just try to keep them boosted up and just build their confidence so they feel comfortable using the chat, answering questions, being engaged, because it's hard to see how engaged they are when you can't physically see them. So I just use that little piece and build on the relationships that I have and try to get them involved in class.
Thank you. Thank you. For our second question, how can we support students and help them continue to learn during this pandemic?
One of the things that I've been doing is obviously monitoring, are they logging in and what that looks like, and reaching out through Remind, email, phone calls to see, you know, what are they doing? How are they doing? Do they need help to kind of connect through these things? And sometimes that's all you need. But I've also been trying to just connect with them and see what else they need. If it doesn't have to do with my class or whatever. I had found, ironically through TikTok, this teacher put together mood meters, and it's a collection of gifts, and they have numbers, and they kind of are based in a color square of what, how are they feeling, and then they just kind of tell me by the number what they're feeling. And I've got like a whole collection of them: Cardi B, Stranger Things, The Office, and they're all themed, and they like it because it's like a fun gift, but then it gives me an idea of how they're feeling and how they're doing, and I can reach out to them a little differently and see what that is, and try to kind of engage with them in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah, and I think too, this year, especially virtually, it's so much more important for us to be proactive in reaching out. I know in the past it was easier to see who was struggling because they have to sit there and do the assignments and have to turn them in. So you could see right then and there who was struggling. But now it's the question of, are they not turning the assignment in because they're struggling? Are they not turning it in because they're struggling with Canvas, or they have something else going on at home? Or are they not turning it in because they're just not doing it? So I know, like this time last year, my communication log was maybe a page and a half, and I'm up to 9 pages this year on my communication log. So that has been, I think it's been a lot more work on, obviously on my end, but just being the one to email the student and say, hey, this is kind of not a choice. Here's the, link to extra help. Why don't you come at 2:10 today and let's have a conversation? And that's been, for me, the best way to at least try to figure out who's actually struggling versus who, and where that struggling is as well.
I've also used probably the communication way more than I have in years, but it's benefited just emailing students, getting them to start the conversation. And then I have the enrichment time, where I invite students to come in at any time during that time frame, just to pop in, let me know if you have any questions, concerns, not necessarily academic, but just if you're struggling with even navigating Canvas. And that just helps them kind of feel comfortable to even open up and talk to you. And then they'll just come in at any time, just pop in or email and say, hey, I need help with this, or I'm struggling with this. So it's really actually opened up. I think I've communicated with kids now more so than I did when they were actually here in regards to their academic concerns.
Thank you. Thank you. For our next question, how do I manage my class online? What should I do when no one submits assignments?
One of the things that I do is, if people aren't submitting an assignment, I'll straight up ask them, guys, is it published? Did I mess something up? And I volunteer to take blame because I need them to know that it could be on my end, and I want them to speak up. And so I probe them, and it's like, all right, what's going on? Was it too difficult? How has this happened? Is it unlocking? What is going on in that sense? And I do that first to make sure that it really wasn't me, and because that can happen, we can make a slip up. And then from there, it's that communication piece of bugging the mess out of them until they're sick of hearing from me. So they're going to do it just to get me off their back. And that's kind of, I get annoying and I'm extra, but it gets the job done, and it gets them back working. And hopefully once they're done being annoyed with me, and they're doing the work, and I praise them for doing the work, even though it's late or it hadn't been done. All right, great. Everybody's done it. We can move on. I do try to, I've had students in the past, well, if none of us do it, then we don't have to do it. And I'm not going to take it away. They're still going to have to do it no matter what. And we move on. But then eventually, if I praise them for getting it done and yay, we're going, then it comes back to they're not as annoyed with me once we get through it.
As an inclusion teacher, I try to communicate with my co-teacher about how we're going to handle it. So far, what we've done is we've kind of got the kids to start on it in class. So kind of like Ms. Roundtree said, we kind of try to take the blame and take some of the weight off of the students, and then get them started on it in class to make sure we don't have any questions. Everybody knows how to find it. Everyone knows how to submit it, and then let them complete it in after hours on their own time, but at least get them started so we know that everybody understands where it is, how to do it.
All right, going to our next question. So our next question is kind of a twofold question. It says, how do we hold students accountable virtually if they are not participating or answering? And then I'm going to add that with another question, which was very similar. It asks for guidelines for late and missing work while we are virtual, how to maintain some sort of accountability.
Yeah, so I guess going with the second part of that question, it's since Suffolk's guidelines are, work with the kids except the late work, that's for me the guideline I've been using. And one of the things I do if I noticed, especially the other day, we had a test due for my psychology class, and 10 out of 19 of my students hadn't turned it in. So yesterday, when I was in class, I, told them, hey, we have this policy. Yes, due dates are fluid, but for them, since it's my senior class, I kind of was able to explain to them, like, this is, I still need it. You still need a grade for it. So there is going to be a missing in the grade book. But, next week you have another test coming up, and, you have an assignment on Wednesday that's coming up. So for them, I'll try and explain a little bit. I know you think like you have all this time, but it's actually going to start compounding on itself. And 3 weeks from now, when the quarter is over, you're going to be up to your eyeballs in work to do. So, for the at least older kids, that's something that hopefully we'll see how many assignments I get for next week, but has helped with that. And then as far as engagement and them, participating, again, my biggest thing is using something in the virtual setting that they can interact with. So a Jamboard or a discussion, or I've used the breakout rooms a few times, and my kids seem to like that a little bit. One of them, and then for that they have to produce something, so I know they're actually working in the breakout rooms. So those are ways that I've tried to get them a little bit more engaged in the virtual setting.
I'll kind of speak to the late and missing work. One thing I kind of have told myself during this virtual time is just to be gracious and have a little mercy and have a little understanding, because we don't know what each child is dealing with. And yes, we do have students who are just taking advantage of the situation and kind of moving slowly, but we also have students that have no support at home, have never had to navigate anything like Canvas. So, and then I have a lot of ninth graders. So the amount of work that they're getting is a total change from what they may have gotten in the middle schools. So I just try to keep that in mind and keep the line of communication open with parents, with the student, if I can get the student, encourage them to come to enrichment time so we can kind of work one-on-one to get some things going. And once they get the hang of how to do things, and they're more comfortable with getting assignments in. But we do have to keep in mind that a lot of these students, we don't know what's going on at home, and they really struggle with navigating this Canvas, even though we know that they can play these video games and all of that, but it's just not the same. We can't compare the two and think that because they can navigate those things that it's easy for them to handle Canvas. So I just try to keep that in mind, remind them of timelines, encourage them to get it done, and be supportive when it comes to getting those assignments in.
I totally agree with what Sarah said. One of the things that I also do is I've dialed back some of the work that I do, and it's an AP class, and they're not doing as much as they had before. But if they're not turning it in, I use the missing part of the grade book. I know some teachers just leave it blank. I use it because it averages in as a 0. And then they see it, and it's kind of a push, and parents will be like, they got to get this done. Why do they have this grade? And I may not grade it right when they turn it in, but I will go in and I will take the missing out of the grade book. So then at least that part is gone. So then the parents aren't as mad at you, and then the students aren't, but still communicating that with the students. This is my policy. I always put in a missing. It averages in to remind you. I may not be taking points off, or I may be, but it's a reminder for you, because for some reason the number in the grade book hits them harder, especially the upper level kids, than it does if it just says, if it's just blank. And so I try to do that as well.
Thank you. For our next question, what strategies are best for management during a live Zoom session?
Dual monitors. I teach in a lab that has multiple computers, so I have taken a student monitor off of one of the other desktops, and I have partnered it with my school desktop. And so I've got an external webcam, I've got dual monitors, I've got my my document camera hooked up. And so with that, I can have the Zoom on one monitor and I can have work on the other. So when I share a screen, I can still have the chat open so I can see that. And that has made a world of difference for me, because I can see everything that's going on, and then just keeping them engaged as much as possible. Try not to share my screen the entire time, but also making sure that they know if I can or cannot see the chat, so they can continue like being active.
I think that's an awesome idea. Fortunately, as an inclusion teacher, there's 2 of us. So we try to balance. If one teacher is sharing the screen, then the other one is monitoring the chat or just keeping students engaged. Fortunately, for me, I haven't experienced any major concerns with having to manage the chat or manage any students' behaviors. But if there are instances where kids are getting a little off track with their chat, it's just a verbal reminder. Let's stay focused on the lesson. Let's keep the chat clear for academic related things. But fortunately, I haven't experienced any major issues.
And I know I'm not on the panel, but I know I do use Zoom sessions a lot. And one thing that I've done is learn the different Zoom features. So anytime you have a lot of people in the Zoom platform, you're able to spotlight the video. So if I wanted to now, I could spotlight my video so that everybody in the session would only see me. No matter if you talk, no matter if you unmuted your mic, no matter if you cut on your camera, my video would be the only one shown. Also in the chat room, you have the ability to put it so that they can only chat with you. So if you're having difficulties with students that's posting stuff that or saying stuff that they shouldn't be, and so you can't really see the chat all the time, just turn that feature so that they only can chat with you during the times that you're unable to monitor the chat. So just being able to learn about the different features that Zoom and even Google Meets offers is one way that I've been able to successfully manage the Zoom meetings that I had.
Also practice with other teachers. The sandbox in Canvas is very helpful for that. Add other teachers to your sandbox and you can play, or use some of the afternoon time if students are not coming in for a session. Try out some of those features. I have a sign interpreter and she actually shares the room with me. And so we do a lot of, in the afternoons, testing different things out. She's trying out how to use Loom and different things to be able to accommodate for our hearing impaired student. And that interaction and the collaboration between other teachers trying to practice Big Blue Button, Google Meets, Zoom, all those different things. Hey, check out this quiz I made, see if it works. That is very helpful as well. I've even added my son to my sandbox because he's a student, and seen what the student side looks like.
Thank you, ladies. That will end our session for the classroom management. We're now going to go into the family engagement and communications section. For our first question, what are some ideas for getting families involved, especially since we are currently learning virtually?
Harass them. You have to keep calling, keep emailing. If they are a SPED student, get the case manager involved, or try to find a teacher who they connect with. Anything. I had to get, for one of my students, none of the phone numbers worked, even wasn't responding to email. So I had to get the school social worker involved, so that here, at least I can speak for Kingsford High School. She's an awesome resource for helping you get kids. And she found the student's phone number in less than an hour. So just try to get everybody involved and let people know, hey, I can't find this kid. I asked the teachers that do have the student that's on my caseload, because I don't have them in class. I asked the teachers to reach out to them on Canvas, say, hey, your case manager's trying to find you. So whatever you need to do to you're really going to have to stretch yourself in this setting, and use whatever resources you have available to you.
I think to give everybody grace. I think sometimes, and I know I've done it, I'm sure we all have, we go, I don't understand, this parent should know, why does this parent know their kid's not online? Why doesn't, and then, I found you call and you do get parents going, I didn't know they weren't online, or I don't know what to do here. I've had some days where I'll just talk to parents, just sometimes even just letting them kind of just go, because they're struggling with this as much as we are, as much as the students are. And that kind of, I don't know if it necessarily gets them involved in the way we traditionally think of parent-teacher involvement in schools, but I found it's helping me build a better connection with parents, and even every once in a while, every few weeks, just sending an email, hey, just checking in, does any parents have any questions? Are any parents struggling with anything that I can maybe help you with, or even direct you somewhere? And that has helped at least open some lines of communication. So that's something, and I've never really done that before, send out just random parent, anybody, anyone need anything, anybody need to connect for anything. And I found that helps, has helped a lot this year.
I started the year sending a weekly email. I felt like an elementary school teacher, because that is not something that I'm used to doing. And it was really awkward, and it was mostly for the parents. And now if I have a quiz coming up, I do send out an email, or a quiz or a test, I send out an email to the families. But I also use Remind. I use Remind a lot. But I'm in the guidance counselor's office. I'm like, look, this is what's going on. I've been with the e-learning coach and said, okay, I'm struggling to get a hold of this kid. Administrators and can actually look and see if students have logged on to all their other courses as well. And so getting them involved and just asking questions. Are they only engaged in one class but not mine? Is it just me? Or is it everything? And sometimes they'll just pick up the phone right there and call. And I have a student whose mother does not speak English. So we have some people in our building that have been interpreters for us and have even gone to people's houses just to kind of knock on the door and be like, hey, how's everything going? Why aren't you doing this? And figured out some more things. And sometimes just getting the administration involved, emailing the other teachers and being like, hey, are they doing the stuff for you? And just getting it out there. I've slowed down on my weekly emails, and I told the parents that. It's like, now it's only if I need it, but they at least saw that I was there for them and understanding that it'll be okay. And we're all in this together kind of thing, all High School Musical like.
Thank you. All right, moving to our next question. How do we grow a relationship with the students that can't join for live sessions?
Although I teach at Nansemond River, I teach kids from all over the city. So I have a student that lives on Quaker down by me. I live in Holland, and his internet is crap. And there are 3 kids in their house with the hotspots, and they struggle sometimes. And some teachers got mad at me because I printed out work and delivered it to him. But this is also, his dad is my son's wrestling coach, so I know them on a different personal level. I don't care if he comes to my house and sits in my driveway and uses my Wi-Fi. He has my Wi-Fi password. So while I'm at work, he can use my Wi-Fi if he needs to. But I have printed out some of the assignments for him and given them to him because he cuts out so much. And it was just something he could quickly do by hand and then deliver to my house. I don't recommend everybody letting kids know where you live. This is just, I know them personally, but at the same time, I have grace when it comes to if it's connection issues, but also if they're not able to get on for the live session, I reach out to them and I say, hey, how's it going? Did you see the live session? All of my lecture notes, anything that I would be teaching, if it's in a PowerPoint or even if it's just content, it is in a page in Canvas. So they have access to everything that I would be saying. I may add a little extra quips and stuff, but they do have the recordings. They have access to all that, but I do check and make sure, do we need to talk in the afternoon? What's going on? Because some of them, they tell me, hey, I got to go catch the food bus. And so they've got to leave class early. I'm like, okay, go, bye. You get your food. But they know that I'm not holding it against them if they don't show up to class. But I am monitoring who shows up so that I see as they come in, I write it down so I know who is showing up and who isn't, so I can see that. Because in people on Canvas, you can see that they've shown up to click on the Zoom, but you don't know if they've actually seen you. And so I do my best to kind of monitor that.
And similar, for me, that's been my struggle this year, is just, I feel like I don't know my kids as much as I normally, like I have a few that always talk and like I pretty much have them pegged. But it's tough that there are kids that, like I have 2 that just don't come. They do their work, but on my attendance, it's a W. So you didn't come to Zoom, but you did your work this week. And kind of same with Dawn for, one of them I emailed, I'll check in every week, like, hey, you haven't been here, you good? And like I had one that said, I watch your videos, I'm getting good grades, like I hope that's okay. I was like, all right, I mean, it'd be nice if you came because we do discussion in there, but I think if it's a kid that's just not coming to the class, reaching out that way. And then how I've tried to get to know my kids in the class a little bit better is, the first week of school, we had to create your own locker. So it was a little digital locker, and they had to design and what would you put if you were decorating your locker. And, every once in a while doing something that's not content related helps a little bit with, I think, the relationship building with at least the kids that are able to get onto the Zoom calls.
And to kind of piggyback on that, I know we're used to building relationships by actually physically seeing people, but we also have to keep in mind by just communicating with someone, you are building relationships. So I think that just by you making an effort, everyone has their own level of comfort. So everyone's not going to go knocking on the door or go to the house or you have to stay within your comfort zone, but at least try to make that connection. I've offered to Zoom with students when they are available. It's not necessarily a connection issue, but a time issue. See if that can fit into your schedule, and you can kind of work around when they are available, just to even check in. Maybe you're not doing a whole lesson, but I'm checking in with you, seeing how you're doing, seeing if you need any support. So within your level of comfort, at least make that effort to reach out, because they will remember that. They will, when we do get back face to face, they'll know, hey, that's the teacher that at least reached out to me or tried to make that effort to help me out. And that's part of building a relationship.
I have also noticed that if you have less engagement in students joining your live sessions in the back end of the week, don't release everything at the beginning of the week. If you're not going to do it in your live session until Wednesday, don't release it on Monday, because they're just gonna, oh, I have everything. I don't need Wednesday. And so sometimes that is just, I wait on certain things to publish it until after I've spoken about it in class. Sometimes that kind of keeps them showing up. And if they're not able to, then at least they know kind of what your routine is. But because sometimes they will kind of play games, but you just reach out to them and let them know that you're going to reach out. If they're just playing games and lying, they're going to stop that. Or, you just gotta have to, even if you don't believe them, act like you believe them and show them that you're being accommodating.
Our next question reads, how do you handle parents who say they can never get in touch with you, but their contact information is incorrect?
So my thing, and when I saw that, if you know that they're saying they can never get in touch with you, they must have been in touch with someone. So I would say reaching out to, if they've contacted your administrator, even saying, hey, what email address did they use to contact you, or what phone number? I know Ms. Porter mentioned you had gone to the social worker for some help with getting in touch with people. I've gone to other teachers and said, hey, do you happen to have a different email on file for, so-and-so's parent? So in that case, it's really just reaching out to your other resources. Or I've also, if this student is someone that's showing up, I've said to the student, what is your parent's email address? What is your parent's phone number? And usually, actually, they're very forthcoming with that as well. So really, for me, that's just, ask around and use your resources. And the other thing is document. Like every time I do a parent email or a phone call, even if it's a no pickup or it's the, wrong number, I'll put that in my communication log. And then, if it comes down to you being called to the mat on that, you can say, well, this was what was in TAC, or this is what was in, whatever, and I tried and it didn't work, and now I know, so now, I have it that way.
I'll say one thing that I've done as well to kind of help with that communication and reaching out to those parents. It's not ideal in most cases, but I'm a social media kind of guy. I have Instagram, I got Snapchat, I got Twitter, I got like almost every social media that there is. So a lot of these parents, even though their phone numbers are not correct, they always have that social media that will always work. So I don't friend them, but what I will do is send them a message and say, hey, I'm Mr. Riddick. I heard you were trying to reach out to me. Could you please give me a call at the school? So now I've put it back on them. I don't have their phone number, but I've given them the school phone number. I told them how to get in contact with me. So now I'll be expecting their phone call. And like Ms. Hager said, document it. So then I'll document, hey, reached out to the parent on Facebook Messenger, told her and to make sure that we're able to contact that way. So sometimes you have to go in a roundabout way to try to make sure you're able to get in contact with the parents, because they will say that you didn't reach out to them, even though they may know that the number that they have on file is not correct anymore.
I have even found just saying to the kids, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of your parent about such and such, and they'll give me the updated contact information. We actually, back in March, it was either March, April, whatever, we put out as our department, we asked all of our students, hey, fill out this Google form and give us your parents' email addresses. They encouraged us to do that so that we could have up to date if it wasn't right in TAC. And in doing that, I found that there were a lot of emails that were not correct. One of my students had even said, my stepmom's email address is still what's in TAC, and she's not married to my dad anymore. She's in another state. I don't like, that doesn't work. And we've been trying to change it. So I got it changed and said, I went to our attendance secretary and said, okay, this is who it needs to go to. And so sometimes we just have to push for the change because they don't know that it hasn't been updated. So even at our level with the high schoolers, even using the kids, and because sometimes they will be able to give you that updated number and just be like, I've tried to reach out to your mom, nothing bad, it's okay, but the number doesn't work. Oh yeah, we got new numbers or something, and that is always helpful, because when they move, they'll change their address, but they'll forget to change a phone number.
Gotcha. All right, so I see that the time is almost approaching. That will conclude our session for the family engagement. There are a couple other questions that I did want to ask that were also asked from some of our other teachers. One of them was about grading. Any tips on grading? This person is a new English teacher, and she feels that she's spending a lot of time on grading. And she's wondering if you had any tips that could help her not spend as much time on grading.
The quizzes feature in Canvas. It takes a little bit on the front end, but self-grading assignments, awesome. I just gave a quiz. There's only 2 things that I have to go in on that quiz to grade myself, 2 questions. Everything else is already graded, and I can just go ahead with it. It's not as much. Now I teach engineering, so not as much reading involved for me as maybe with an English teacher, but one of our English teachers here does analogies and different things like that, and it's all self-grading, and that can cut down on some of the back-end grading side.
I say Godspeed. I teach my psychology class. It's an IB class, so all their tests are essay, and they're long essays, and it's the biggest thing I can say that it did take me 5-6 years to finally learn. I set myself a cutoff. So at, like today, Fridays, I work till 5:30. At 5:30, if it is not done, I am giving myself the grace to not be done. And, I will pick it up again on, maybe tomorrow, but maybe not. We'll see if I have time over the weekend. I'll pick it up Monday. And I will say, yeah, I have heard, I saw in the chat, one of the English teachers in our schools use no red ink, and they really like that. But also the more you do it, like it goes a little bit quicker now because I'm used to what the common mistakes over the years kids have made and what I need to look out for. But if anybody else has a better way, let me know, because like all I do is great.
Yeah, and to piggyback on that a little bit, I really agree with Amanda that you do have to give yourself some grace and give yourself a cutoff time, and that's it. And also for students that are turning in assignments late, just maybe reiterate the fact that you're not necessarily going to put that in as soon as they turn it in. Just let them know, I need 48 hours, 3 days, whatever your policy is, just remind them on that. And then to speak kind of on the special ed side, it's important as an inclusion teacher to kind of be a helpmate for your co-teacher. So if there's anything that you can do to kind of take some of that off of them, if you're going into IXL and checking their grades, or if you do a reassessment, communicate that, put that grade in, discuss how you want to access the grade book, as long as everybody's okay with using the grade book. And it should be okay for everybody. We're all adults, we're all teachers. To both teachers access that grade book. And if a child does a reassessment and you did it with them, put that grade in for them, communicate that to the core teacher, and be a help.
Thank you, thank you. So for our last question that I have written down, it's a very important question, I feel. How do you take care of yourself so you don't burn out?
Yeah, I guess for me, kind of similar to what I just said before. I did a lot of years of feeling like I needed to do everything, and it needed to be perfect, and things needed to get graded the day it was turned in, and I needed to respond to kids at all hours, and 2 years ago, I couldn't do it anymore. My family couldn't do it anymore. I was missing out on family time. And again, but not to go too much, my eye opener was my family was going to Disney for Christmas vacation, and I brought my laptop and lesson plans, and I was also working on my dissertation, so that didn't help. But my mom and my husband were like, "We're in Disney World, and you're getting up at 5 a.m, and you're sitting in the bathroom so you don't wake anybody up, typing less that you're not even doing for 2 weeks." And I was like, "Oh, I've lost it. I've lost my mind." So for me, what I do, like I said, I set myself we have to leave the buildings by 4. So at 3:30, I'm like, whatever I get done by 3:30 is what I get done. I go for a run. That's for me, that's what I'm doing. And, I've even told the kids, if you email me after 5 o'clock, I might get back to you, but there's a chance everything is closed down at 5. That is family time. That is cooking dinner time. And just, you do have to allow yourself that everything might not get done today, but I'm not a bad teacher because I didn't give my life away to grading the papers, or, I can do it tomorrow. And I know it's harder your first year, because at least me, I have materials pre-made that I can rely on if need be. But if you're able to allowing yourself that time to just be done, take a day off on the weekend, take a night off, nights off. And I wish I had learned that earlier.
What a lot of our teachers have started telling each other to do is put the vacation notification on your emails, just to stop looking at it at a certain time. I'm one of those. I was a workaholic when I started at Nansen River, because I did yearbook and everything else. There were nights where I was here till 8 o'clock at night, and I was working. I did homecoming or yearbook stuff, and it covered my living room. And once I had my son and we did more family stuff, I drew back a little bit, but I had to just put things down. And that was a big, big thing. And I was at a conference a couple years ago, and there was a mindfulness, wellness person as the speaker. And it was an education conference. And so I learned meditation techniques, and I'm not that kind of person, but just the breathing techniques and all that to just calm myself down and center myself. I found picking up things that crafting activities that I used to enjoy, where I could put everything away and not want to go back and focus on my schoolwork. If I had myself busy with something else, going for a walk like Amanda goes for a run, we tell our son when he gets frustrated, even with a video game, we're like, put it down, go see the chickens. And so I've even started just have to walk outside and do something, even if it's not going to be anything. I've even just put myself in the car and gone for a drive because then I'm not touching my phone. And I'm just driving the back roads of Suffolk, singing the 90s music, and, you know, just being in my own bubble. And sometimes you just have to disconnect.
Yes, I agree with all of that. And to be honest, I'm a workaholic. I always feel like I can get one more thing done. That's always kind of been how I function. But to be honest with you, I think this pandemic and being quarantined and all that really changed my mindset as to how I think about my time. I told myself this year when I walk out the door, that's it. I'm done with school. I'm done with, you know, focusing on what everybody else needs, because I have family, I have kids, and just being at home with them in the quarantine has really kind of centered things and made me think about how much time we really miss when we put everything else before our families and before our kids and before yourself. So you just have to really put things into perspective. Use your time wisely when you are in the building. Use your time wisely. Focus on what you need to do. Make lists, whatever you do to keep yourself focused. I've even started taking little brain breaks for myself, and I'll go walk around the building just to kind of give myself some movement and then get back to it. So just kind of take some time and reflect on what's really important, what you need to get done first, and what can wait, and do whatever you need to do to get that all into perspective. But make sure when it's time to be done, you put it to the side and you're okay with that, and you can focus on other things. Because really, when you put those things aside and give yourself a break, it's easier to get back to it.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Ms. Porter, Dr. Hadgraf, Ms. Roundtree, I do appreciate you all for being able to partake in this panel discussion. I hope the new teachers were able to get something beneficial out of it. I do know that I said we would have time for Q&A at the end. The time is currently 9:53, so we're kind of a little over already. We can stay till about 10 o'clock if someone does have questions. Well, we'll be here to kind of answer the panel. So if you do have questions, just you can unmute your mic and ask the question. Also, if you look in the chat, I dropped the link for a quick survey, just a little feedback. So if you could take the time to just answer that the survey, that'll be helpful as well. So we'll stay here till about 9:55. If nobody has any questions, you can go ahead and start exiting out. And we do appreciate you for attending this new teacher meeting for October. All right, it's 9:55, so there were no questions. So you all will please enjoy your weekend, and I hope you have much success as you continue on your journey in this new educational career. Have a good one.